Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to take on a slightly broader topic and talk about the Indian economy. So please do watch this video till the end and let me know what you think. As we all know, India has started to recover from the COVID-induced economic crash, and on the surface it seems like we're making a strong and rapid recovery. IMF data from the World Economic Outlook 2021 shows a sharp V-shaped recovery with an 11% projected GDP for 2021. If we look at stock markets, we can see that both Sensex and Nifty have recovered really well since their crash levels of last March and April, have gone on to exceed their pre-COVID levels and even come close to all-time highs. However, if we look at some core economic indicators, we find that things are a little more complicated, and a lot of economists are now talking about the prospect of a K-shaped economic recovery. So in today's video, we're going to discuss whether we really are seeing this K-shaped economic recovery in India. We're going to very quickly go over what GDP is, what a K-shaped economic recovery looks like, and have a look at some economic indicators and the components of GDP to see how the economy is bouncing back from the impact of the pandemic. GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product, which is the total amount of goods and services produced in an economy in 1 year. It's like the cumulative yearly output of an economy. So let's have a look at the breakup of GDP to see what makes up this number. From this formula of nominal GDP, C stands for consumption, which is the spending on goods and services. I stands for investments usually made by businesses. G stands for government spending. And X minus M stands for net exports or imports. Today we're going to analyze different aspects of the Indian economy and relate it to this formula. A K-shaped economic recovery happens when different parts of the economy recover from a recession at starkly different rates. In this case, when different income groups recover at different rates and the path to an economic recovery is split in two. Oxfam recently published a virus inequality report which states that while the wealth of the top 100 billionaires of India went up by 12 lakh crores, 1.3 crore Indians lost their jobs. India is not alone in this, and the unique circumstances of the pandemic are making this happen all over the world. In the US, while Warren Buffett's net worth went above $100 billion, 8 million Americans slipped into poverty in the second half of 2020. In India's case, it is being argued by various economists that the economic recovery is being driven by capital and profits and not labor and wages. We can see some evidence for this K-shaped recovery in the contrast between the performance of markets, which reflects the value of large listed companies, versus employment statistics for the last year. Unemployment was as high as 9% in December, and while this number has gone down to below 7% recently, economists say that the labor participation rate, which is the amount of people that are working or looking for work, has declined. Some reports also suggest that the unemployment rate has gone down because migrant workers that left cities during lockdowns have not returned because of a lack of jobs. This is also shown by the sharp increase in demand for NREGA jobs, which stands for the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, with more than 1 crore additional households getting work under this scheme up till November 2020, which ended up representing a 243% increase in payouts. Now let's talk about one of the most important components of GDP, which is consumption. As per the NSO's advanced estimates for the fiscal year 2021, private final consumption declined by 9.5%. If we look at the patterns of consumption, we can see some more evidence of a K-shaped recovery taking place. For instance, in the month of February, passenger vehicle sales increased about 10.6% year on year, while two-wheeler sales declined by 16%. To see this unequal recovery in consumption graphically, we can have a look at the Consumer Sentiment Index, which represents the Indian consumer's outlook towards consumption split by income groups. As you can see on this graph, the grouping of consumers is by annual income, and there is a distinct difference in performance and recovery for the highest as compared to the lowest income groups. This means that while the sentiments of high-income households towards consumption, spending and investments are slowly getting closer to pre-pandemic levels, the same is not happening as fast for lower-income households. Now let's talk about another important component of GDP, which is government spending. Government spending from the period of April to November 2020 was 5% higher as compared to the last year, which is the lowest increase we have seen in the last 5 years. Further, reports suggest that the breakdown of spending is biased towards businesses instead of households. with the amount of funds that can directly support households making up 0.8% of the GDP, while the entire stimulus package made up close to 10% of the GDP. Now let's talk about investment. While we have seen large listed companies do well, a lot of them have also raised large amounts of funding. In a recent research paper from the Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research, the authors note that private sector firms that were deleveraging before the pandemic because of NPA problems and those with deep pockets will be the ones that are able to bear the economic impact of the pandemic. For example, in 2020, Reliance announced that they became net debt free after raising almost 1.7 lakh crores from various investors. We are even seeing this play out in real estate, with recent reports suggesting that larger grade 1 players are the ones that have the funds and the brand reputation to withstand this economic crisis. Therefore, while the larger indicators seem to show a sharp and robust recovery, it seems that this has come at the cost of some internal redistribution within the economy. Now that we've established the existence of this K-shaped recovery, what are governments around the world doing to solve this? One way, of course, would be direct stimulus to those who need it, such as the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill passed in the US. However, just like individuals, governments do have a budget, and spending like this is usually financed through debt, which means running a fiscal deficit. However, the fiscal deficit in India was already quite high before the pandemic at 4.6% in the year 1920. There is only so much debt that these governments can manage sustainably. Alright everyone, thank you so much for listening, and I hope that this video shed some light on the nature of India's current economic recovery. Please do let me know what you think, and if you'd like me to take on more of these economics topics, let me know in the comments below. As always, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content. Thank you.